If you watched the last video I posted on my YouTube shorts, or you're following on my social media platforms, you realize that I talked about a pair of trousers that I made months ago and I couldn't wear. So this is going to be a cut and sew tutorial for one of those tops that I sketched. Well, to kind of give you context into what I'm talking about, it's going to pop right up on your top right corner of your screen watching this video, the video for where I talked about that, in case you just need the background for what we're doing today. I'm going to put on the side all the measurements that you need to take in order to make this crop top, and I've just written down the measurements that I got for myself. So these measurements you're seeing are my measurements to make the top. So take your tape roll and measure the specific areas that are listed, and those are the measurements you'll be using cutting this top. So what I've just marked on my fabric is the length from my shoulder to my under bust. That's what I just marked. So what I'm doing now is to check out for the width of how I want, like the width of my top. So I will be using my bust measurement, and my bust is 33 inches and divided by 4, that's 8.25. So I'm going to be using 8.5 because that will make account for sewing allowance. And then I'll come down by the very top of the fabric by 1 inch, because you see the neckline, it's a halter neckline, and that halter, it should dip a little at the middle, so that when you cut it and when you do the gathers, it's going to form a little curve that can mimic the shape of your neck. So remember that the portion from the neck here and the portion under the bust here are gathered. So you're going to double what you have, that 8.5 that you have, double it, and that's what you're going to take for the width of the top. Because by the time you gather it, it's going to, so I'm just going to take about 15.5. I took about 15. You can either you double it, well, doubling it, you can double it, or just add, just as much inches as I did. So the width of the lower portion is just going to be a little few inches more. I'm just adding just a few inches freehand, and then I'll just join it to form. And then because the reason why it needs to be a few more inches longer than the upper part is because the gathers there are going to be more. So I'm just going to take up my scissors and then cut it out. So I'm just going to take my iron and just do a slight press to get rid of the wrinkles on the fabric. So I'm just going back to my reference sketch to kind of see what we are doing. So let's be reminded, the top portion has gathers that gives those folds at the top. At the very top by the neck, it's going to be gathered by the neck and also gathered at the under bust point, which is where I'm touching right now. It's going to be gathered across the under bust point based on what this sketch is telling us. So let's go ahead and cut that lower portion, which is the waistband or the waist portion of the top. So I'm just going to slant. Remember I told you that I'm going to curve the midpoint of the neckline. So remember that it's a halter neckline, and it's going to sit on top. This portion is going to sit over like a necktie, a turtle necktie kind of situation from the sketch or the picture. So I'm just going to kind of slant out or curve out that area and come down by 1 inch by that area. It's going to be, if you are able to curve it, great. If you can't, just slant it, and that will just give us what we need. So I'm trying to cut the band. So this band is going to join up with the one you just cut earlier that we're going to gather. And so I'm just going to take the width of the band, and that's just what I did here. So I'm just going to take the length of that band side of the crop top. And the funny thing here is that, and I didn't even realize this until when I finished cutting and sewing the entire top, I extended this part. This part of the top was supposed to have gathers as well, but the gathers was not supposed to be vertical the way the under bust side is. It's supposed to be like a horizontal, like little pleats and gathers. Well, I totally forgot, and I trimmed that excess away. I guess while I was going to sew, I just forgot what the excess space was for, and I just trimmed it away. So don't let this be confusing for you. I wanted these pleats. I'm going to put a picture now. I wanted these pleats on the waist side, and that was why I added extra inches to make it long so that I can do the pleats horizontally. But then I forgot and I trimmed that excess away. So that's why the end product did not eventually have pleats in that portion. So you can decide to make yours with or without pleats. So just look at whichever one you prefer and then do. Just make sure that you don't forget and then trim yours like mine. So you can see here is how I was mimicking how I was going to do the pleats. See, and it would have looked really good. So I think you guys should do yours. If you are sewing this, why don't you make yours with the pleat? Look at this is how it would have looked, and I think that would have looked even much more elevated. What do you think? Do you like it better with or without the pleats? So I just folded it into two to get the middle curve of this outfit. So I'm going to mark where I want to be the highest point of that my curve, and then I'm just going to use free hand to just give it the curve or the shape that I want it to have. So I'm going to cut the back piece of the crop top, and I'm going into this blind because I didn't design the back of this outfit, guys. And of course, I can't make the front look like the back because I've seen like when that front, the design of the front when it's been used for the back, I just don't like all the excess fabric from the gathers that will be at the back. So I'm going to make a straight normal back in a halter way, and you get to see it. So I'm just going to take my shoulder and divide it by two, and then just take my armhole as normal, just the way you'll be doing like a normal bodice. But do not forget that this is going to be for your halter design. So I'm going to put a slit, just, it just came to my mind, randomly. So I'm just going to put a little slit at the center, and it's about 7 inches. So I'm marking the point for the bust, and then I'm also going to mark the waist. Don't forget to take the same length as the front. So the length at front is the same length at the back. So just go ahead and just add that. So I'm going to use this piece of fabric to cut a very long piece that I'm going to use for the tie of the halter. And I'm going to be tying by the side. So I need to make a really long strip I'm sure you guys already know how to do this, but I'm just going to let you know the measurements I'm using. So the longest piece of fabric I left that can for the necktie is this black part of the fabric, and I really want this part where the leopard print is on for the front to match with the front. I don't want the black. I think it will look better with the leopard. So I'm just going to cut a small piece for the front for the leopard print on the leopard print, and then join it to the rest of the black for the rest of the necktie. So it's time to sew, and you're just going to take this to the sewing machine, and then you gather this part, upper part, and you gather the lower part as well. So you can see here that I have sewn and I've pulled the gathers together at the top. It's beginning to look more like our picture now. So I'm just going to take my tape and confirm the length at each point. So the back piece is going to be fully lined. I'm just ironing ironing the lining so that I can just trace and cut the back piece. So I'll just go ahead and top stitch this point, and I'm going to pin it before I take it to the machine to top stitch. So I'm going to sew the two sides, I'm going to sew the outer sides together of this necktie, and I'll also go ahead and sew the edges. So I've done the top stitching for this one, and there's a lot of excess fabric, so I'm just going to trim. So I'm just also going to turn in the raw edges at the sides, just gently, just by 1/4 of an inch or less. And here's what it looks like after I've done all that. So I'm going to mark and pin areas for the neck where I'm going to join the front of the front to the back at the neck, and also the bust and the waist. So I'm just taking my measurement, my waist measurement, and noting the points I'm going to sew at, and also I'll do the same for my waist measurement. So after sewing, notice that there's a lot of excess. I'm just going to trim over those excess areas. So I will attach the necktie to the neck. Just go on and sew it with the machine. So the final step will be to put a zipper on the side, but then I just noticed I picked the wrong choice of zipper for this project and I had to change it. And the best, here you can see the difference between these two zippers. I had to change last minute. I had to change last minute to the black one, because you can see the black one is an open zipper. It has an open end, while the ash colored zipper has a closed end, which will not be the best. It will be the best for this project that you can have the dress completely open and close whichever way and whichever time you like, because it's very fitted. So the best zipper for this is going to be the black one. So here's the final look, guys. The top is finished and completed. I'm just tying my cute little bow on the side, and you can see the top is completed. The styling video is coming really soon, so subscribe so that you do not miss that. Thank you so much, and if you learned something new today, please give me a like and a subscribe and turn on your notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.